All right. So we're super early. I'm so used to having an intro for our Crimes After Dark show on YouTube that I don't know what to do to get us slowly started over here on the Beyond channel. But if you're just dialing in or on replay, we're just going to see who can get in here and see if we got anybody showing up for the Beyond channel. It's a brand new channel. If you don't know much about it, it's a channel where on the Crimes After Dark we do, or on the other channel, we do true crime, and I try to stay away from conspiracy theories, all the crazy stuff that comes up over there. I try to be a little bit hesitant, but over here we are not so hesitant. So hopefully you'll join myself. I'm going to get Robin on from the Crimes After Dark show, and JJ, who always loves to bring up conspiracy theories on my other channel, and I try to put the little bit breaks on them, but over here not so much. So welcome for those of you who are in here, because it is a brand new channel and a brand new format. By the way, next week we hopefully will have a intro music and sizzle reel for this to give us a little bit of a warm-up time, so they don't just turn on the mic and immediately go talking, which felt so weird. I'm so used to having a little bit of a warm-up period. But anyways, welcome JJ and Robin. How you guys doing tonight?
All right.
I'm doing good. I just had to scarf down some food, and
I get it.
Gone all day, so trying to get my act together, muster up the force.
There you go. We got some people coming in now, so welcome on in, people.
Yeah, and this would be a great time. Yeah, a great time to ask questions, especially if you like see Cat's Mojo from who follows the other channel. Leah Story, I also think from the other channel as well.
Yep.
Amanda B modding for us as Essie is also from the other channel. Philly Special, lots of people we see, and I think like Giraffe Zebra, is that somebody that's new to this channel only? Is Jen S from the other channel?
No, Giraffe has been on our other channel as well.
Giraffe's on the other one. Shit, see, I'm an asshole. Witchy was now. I bet you Witchy was is one that hasn't been on the other channel. I bet. Anyways, welcome. Again, this is an open season for you to ask questions. Hopefully, by the way, if you haven't watched, I've started a new series on the Book of Enoch. For those who are interested, I got a new update of that coming out on Sunday morning. What was the update on memberships? So Brandy wants to know what the update on memberships was. So I had told you I had some stuff that I wanted to do for members only content once we get to 500 members. What I didn't realize is 500 members is only half the equation you need to have members. To do members, you have to have 500 members and 3,000 watch hours. The metrics are behind, so I'm seeing metrics from about the 7th of June, and it says right now we have about 1,200 watch hours. So we need 3,000 watch hours before we can turn on memberships, 4,000 watch hours, and 1,000 subscribers to get fully monetized and be a real boy as far as being able to serve up ads, which I know doesn't excite you. The ads don't excite you, but it's the way that we pay the bills, and unfortunately, and it also allows us to do members-only content. And the reason why we do members-only content is because some topics that are just super not popular for the wide audience. It's a more of a niche thing, and so we want people to be able to watch that that kind of content without it hurting my channel. JJ, how's your channel doing? I think you're about the same place I am on this channel as well. On your new channel, you got like 600-700 people over there on that channel.
Yeah, like six something.
Nice,
but I haven't been as consistent. So this next 2 weeks that I'll have a little more time to put out content, and like I said, I'm doing my first live tomorrow, providing it looks like it was scheduled on YouTube. I spent 8 hours yesterday trying to fix it. There was a lot of problems with it. It's a long story. It was a lot to deal with because I had stuff to do, and I had to spend, no lie, the whole half of the day doing every possible workaround and troubleshooting step to get it, because my State of the Deep is under my regular, Google, whatever, my regular thing. And I didn't have a brand account, so I had to find all these ways to replace a brand account with State of the Deep, and then it was blocking me from scheduling a live. So it was a lot. I had to do a lot, and it still didn't let me do it. It told me
Yeah.
you were not able to do a live stream. And I'm reading stuff online saying, oh, you have to wait 7 days. And I'm like, why? I've been posting videos. So I didn't know if it was going to go through. We'll see. Hopefully it's showing up as being scheduled, but after yesterday, I'm trying to be positive that it's going to work out without a problem.
Nice. Microdot
Well,
apparently says there's some deja vu about seeing me somewhere else today. So I'm assuming you were over on the Devil's Advocates 2024. So thank you for coming
We
over.
permeate your brains.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. I think I'm a little bit different on the. I show a different side of myself over here. I think maybe it'll be a lot the same.
Yeah,
but
you do.
Yeah, but it's a little different.
JJ, I will be modding for you tomorrow night. So
that would be
so
freaking awesome, man. That's
yes,
awesome.
you'll have a mod in the room.
I really appreciate it.
Law and order.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun because because it's alive. I have the topics that I want to discuss, and I want to just let it, let people comment and get into it, and that's the whole idea. So that's the way I'm going to approach it. So I may not be the smoothest at first with the live stuff, but I'll get, the more I do with them, the more I'll get polished at, doing the actual live stream part. So, but I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So what do we got going on today? I saw that somebody did see the first video of my Book of Enoch series. By the way, the hardest part I'm having is trying to train people what the channel is going to be about, because I've covered tarot cards, UFOs. By the way, I heard that there was a new drop in the UFO.gov website. Actually, it's war.gov/UFO. So there's a new tranche of videos that have come out. I have no idea what's there, so I'm looking forward to doing that tomorrow. The Book of Enoch series. I got a little raunchy and personal on the next one that's coming out on Sunday. I kind of gave a personal story about some of the things that drew me to the Book of Enoch, and it's a little out there. But anyways, I'm not going to actually start the official reading until the one afterwards. In other words, I'm just still doing a little bit of a preview about why the book means so much to me, and some history of the book and how it relates to Christianity and the canon that we've got today. Again, I don't want it to be a Bible study, so I hope that you don't see it that way. It's hard for me not to go that way, because I know so much. I know so much about the Bible. I studied it my whole life, but I'm trying not to make it a Bible study. So hopefully you'll find that interesting. But again, I've got lots of stuff to cover, paranormal and whatever. I think, by the way, I teased earlier, we're going to do a new thing on Monday nights. We're going to have a Monday night movie series. And the idea is that during the week, I'm going to announce it now, we're going to watch the movie The Matrix. What I recommend you do is you go watch The Matrix. I'll put a video out, by the way, about this, teasing it for people as well. But The Matrix with Keanu Reeves way back in the day, it has a really, really deep philosophical meaning. It's considered by people in Buddhism to be a Dharma movie, meaning that it has a fundamental truth about reality and the nature of our reality that is kind of hidden in the movie. It's got deep connotations. And so what we'll do is I want you all to go back and rewatch. I'm assuming you've already watched. Go back and rewatch The Matrix, and then come on Monday night, not this Monday, but the Monday following, where we will open up a discussion, and I'll show you what I saw in the movie, what I think about the movie, what the deeper thoughts are. You share with me what you think about it. We'll talk about the deep philosophical ramifications. There's a lot of Gnosticism in there. There's a lot of Buddhism in there. There's a lot of crazy ideas that are interwoven. There's Alice in Wonderland themes. I love Alice in Wonderland. It's a huge thing of mine. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. So check it out. Go watch The Matrix again during the week. And then next Monday, we'll have a movie night. And I think it's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is the same time Crimes After Dark used to be. But we're going to replace Monday night's Crime After Dark with this show and see if that'll take off. So, and again, ask questions right now. You've got a great opportunity to ask any question. Hey, what's the gangs are all here, ready for the live, ready for Enoch 2? Awesome. I'm so glad there's people interested in Enoch. I hope I don't disappoint. Enoch is one of those. It's one of those things, like if you're super religious, you find it interesting, but you'll also hate me. If you're not religious, why would you be interested in the Book of Enoch? So it's a really weird finding the niche for that group. But anyways, hope you enjoy it.
Well, just real quick about The Matrix. By the way, I mentioned it at some point this past week. I bought the Book of Enoch, but I have so many books on deck that I'm supposed to be reading and research that I'm supposed to be doing. It's probably going to be a bit before I get to it. But I've been interested in it. I just, it's time, man. You got to have the time to dig into things. But regarding the Matrix, right? You're going to speak about the Matrix in more detail.
Yeah.
That movie clocked so many things that have so much relevance in the last 6 years that watching it now, in my opinion, is you will pick up so many things that maybe you either didn't pick up on them or you didn't make the connection about the fundamental nature of reality and how reality can be obscured depending on the individual, right? Like the old saying, create your own reality and perception is reality. And that movie, man, like when you go back and watch it with a different perspective, it's something else, that movie, and it's fascinating. Was that Nolan that did that movie?
I think it was. Well, no, it was the Wachowskis.
Okay.
Which I think they went through a gender change. I think there was Wachowski brothers, and then it became the Wachowski sisters. I think there was a weird thing with them. I think it's the Wachowskis.
Okay, because it's fascinating. Like again, the Alice in Wonderland parallels and things like that. The red pill, blue pill. It's interesting because the whole red pill, blue pill thing in the last several years was utilized to talk about politics ish, kind of, right? Sort of, right? Depending on how you frame it. But man, that movie just, what I love to do, and I do it with books and I do it with movies. I'll give you an example. Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Breaking Bad. Mad Men, the show Mad Men. There is so much subtext in those shows that you could just watch them and enjoy them because they were so well done.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention to the subtext, it creates a whole other enjoyment watching the stuff. And same with the Matrix. And I want to recommend a movie that you watch, DA, if you haven't seen it. There's a movie that wasn't super widely known, and I don't think it was super popular, but Robert Downey Jr. was in it, and I think he was one of the producers. It's called A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints.
No, I hadn't heard of it.
Have you ever seen it? All right, so I got the book. It was this weird book, this guy, and maybe this might stir up some interest in you discussing it, but this guy, he was from Astoria, Queens, and he grew up, kind of on the streets and from a poor family, more or less. And there was a lot of turmoil in his younger life, which I won't get into because you can watch the movie, and he became a punk rocker and ended up in a very popular, like sort of underground New York punk band called Gutter Boy, which some punkers would know that band. He wrote the book, and it was just a bunch of like vignettes and things. It was stories. There was no plot line, really. There was no, it was just stories about his childhood up to the point where he moves to New York City and he gets into the punk rock scene, right? The movie doesn't get into that. The book does a little bit. But anyway, so I had bought the book and I loved it. It was just a lot of soul, a lot of really good, really, really good, like a real voice. And then all of a sudden I see that it's being made into a movie with Robert Downey Jr. and Rosario Dawson. It was really good. But that's a movie that it's one of those movies that most people probably don't know about. But then I'll cap the story off. Like one of my buddies moved out to LA. He was living in LA. and he ends up he leaves and he sublets his apartment, and it turns out he sublets his apartment to the guy who wrote that book.
Oh wow, yeah.
So he ends up getting me a signed first edition of that book, signed by the guy, Dito Montiel. That's who wrote the book. And so, that movie and that book have a weird sort of synchronicity to it for me, at least. And I'll tell you one other thing about that movie. And so people, if they want to watch it, they can pay attention to it. But if you've seen the Motorcycle Diaries, right? The phenomenal. It's about Che Guevara when he was young, and him and his buddy, they're in medical school. They go on a motorcycle trip, two guys on one bike, one beat up old Norton, all over South America. And this is Che Guevara, but he's a medical student at the time. Beautifully shot. Fantastic movie. It's one of my favorite movies, right? It's subtitled, but I always marveled at the cinematography. It's really, really good. So I'm watching A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, and I'm like, man, whoever the cinematographer is in this movie is just off the charts. And sure enough, it's the same guy who did the cinematography. He's an award-winning cinematographer for Motorcycle Diaries. So it's a weird movie, but I would highly recommend it to anybody.
Nice.
It's great. Great.
Nice.
Chaz Palminteri's in it. He plays Dito's father. It's really, really good.
And by the way, I had this pinned for a while. I had a comment somebody had mentioned about Stigmata and what my thoughts of the Stigmata. I will probably get into that in a minute here. But Jen S., yeah, Dark City is on the list of movies that I wanted to cover actually for the Monday night movie thing. So we've got a list of movies, and Dark City was already on the list. So thanks for mentioning that as well. As far as the Stigmata goes, the Stigmata, I don't know if you guys want to talk about that at all as a group, but that's kind of like the phenomena, from what I understand. It's the phenomena of like marks on the skin that appear to be like marks from the crucifixion of Jesus, like marks on your hand, on your palms that indicate that you've had nails drawn. And so the stigmata phenomena, that's a complex issue on what I believe about it. Like that's a tough one. I think that human beings can manifest marks on their skin in various ways, due to their psyche and their subconscious. I think that it's possible that things can mark your skin as well. Whether the religious aspect is harder for me because I grew up in religion, so I have a lot of beliefs about I have a lot of beliefs that get in the way about what's going on there. So do I think that it's possible for people to have wounds appear? Yes. How those wounds appear, that's a whole other ball of wax. I'd be happy to share with my thoughts with you if you want to talk about it ad nauseum. But at the moment, just briefly telling you, I know what you're talking about, and I think that human beings can manifest those things through various ways. And so, but what it is, we may not agree with. That's the only part that I can say about that at the moment.
Well, there's a thing in psychology. It's called, there's two versions of it. It's called conversion disorders.
Yeah.
And then somatic disorders, where you might have trauma in that's unresolved, and it manifests physically. And so I don't know if the parallel is there in that particular case with the stigmata scenario, which I'm familiar with, but there's a lot of psychological studies into how like, for example, people who have anxiety disorders or have trauma can get brutal rashes and like really crazy skin type of disorders. And they don't know that that's being caused by their trauma and their emotional state. Like when you don't talk about things, you don't deal with things.
Right.
It's amazing what the mind is capable of. Like,
yeah, there was
DA, have you ever read that book? It's an old book. It's called, what's it called? I'll think of it in a second. Oh, Psychodynetics or something like that, or
no,
something like that, or it's either cyber. I think it's
Cybernetics?
No, it's not
Cybernetics? Oh, no.
cybernetics, not the L. Ron Hubbard. It's like
And not Dianetics.
psycho-cybernetics. It's called
Okay.
psycho-cybernetics. It's an older book. And this guy, he talks about how, and it's interesting because he doesn't say the nocebo effect, which is what it is that he's talking about, but it probably wasn't called that then. Everybody's heard of the placebo effect, right?
Right,
You
right.
take something, you're told it's a drug that's going to have X, Y, and Z side effects or whatever, or X, Y, and Z benefits. You experience a benefit even though you didn't get the actual real medication,
Right.
right? Well,
Right, 'cause
there's
your
a
brain,
flip
yeah,
side of
yeah.
that. It's called the nocebo effect. And for example, and it's fascinating, you go into a drug study, right? Because people will go into these trials, these drug trials, and they tell you you have to sign off on the informed consent. Like these are the potential side effects. So this person was taking, was in one of these studies, and one of the side effects was heart, cardiac arrest. Sometimes it can be extreme side effects, right? Well, one of the extreme side effects was cardiac arrest. So this person's in this drug study was like not feeling right. And then they started to have chest pains and they started to have like heart palpitations and like they started basically like they were having cardiac arrest, and they called. There's an emergency number for the study. They called. It turns out they were on the placebo group. So they never even took the actual drug that would potentially have those side effects. But in their mind, they knew what the side effects were, and their mind escalated them to the point where that's the nocebo effect,
Yeah.
right? So like if you have, there's documented cases of people being misdiagnosed and literally dying of a disease they didn't have.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's
someone gets
crazy.
diagnosed with terminal cancer, and next thing you know, they're suffering all of the symptoms of terminal cancer to the point they're on their deathbed. And
And they
this
never
is the
had cancer.
power of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I developed, I mean, I remember a phenomena like that. It was a kind of like one of those, I don't know, like experiments you could do at home. But it was like if you convince somebody that if you blindfold, so if you show somebody like a flame, like a candle flame, and then you blindfold them, and then you tell them that you're going to hold their hand over the flame, you could place an ice cube, for example, against their flesh, and they'll develop blisters as if they just got burned by the flame, because their brain is telling them that a hot flame is about to touch their skin, and then you touch it with the ice cube, and they'll blister up like a flame just hit them. Because again, the mind created it instead of reality. So it's really fucking interesting when you get into what the mind can do, including making yourself sick when you're not sick, or healing yourself.
It's incredible stuff. I mean, like the whole Sybil, the movie Sybil, people have mentioned it in the chat. That's, people, they called it different things back then. It's dissociative identity disorder, right? But it's from trauma.
Yeah.
People that have unresolved, like early trauma, their mind splits off into different things to protect themselves, and for example, PTSD, people are not supposed to experience that much intense trauma,
right?
Because the mind responds to it. And that's PTSD is a very common thing, obviously, for soldiers coming back from combat, and the scars from it, because your brain gets wired in a heightened state, right? And it's a crazy environment. It doesn't make any sense. You don't know what's going to happen. And the point that I was going to make is like special forces guys, it's counterintuitive. You would think these guys do the craziest shit. They're less prone to PTSD than a regular soldier would be, because this is the theory anyway, because they're in control of their environment. They are very much the ones dictating the operation. They have a lot of a lot more leeway than somebody who's just thrown out there and doesn't know what may or may not happen. Whereas special forces guys have very specific tasks,
Yeah.
and they feel more empowered to have some control over their environment. That doesn't mean that they never get it. They do, but it's less common among special forces guys, which you would think is counterintuitive. At least I did.
Robin, I see your cat from the crime channels all over you on the Beyond channel.
Oh yeah, he he likes the camera. I don't know what else to say other than that. He likes attention, so.
What other questions do we have, by the way? Or we could even throw out an invite for you to come join us. This is kind of a casual. We're just getting started on this channel. We're trying to build it up. Again, I've got so many topics that I'm interested in talking about. I'm not sure, again, that people will understand the channel, because I've been doing a lot of stuff on tarot cards lately, and it's not necessarily a tarot card channel. And I've been doing stuff on UFOs, and it's not necessarily a UFO channel. And I've been doing stuff on religion and spirituality, and it's not necessarily that. It's a little bit of all of it, and I hope people understand that. So,
well, that's why it's called Beyond.
Right. Let's talk
It
Enoch.
doesn't have. Yeah. I mean,
that's what Leah's story said. Let's talk Enoch. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know. Like for the Joe, you said JJ, you said you had bought a copy of the Book of Enoch, and I don't. If you didn't, I feel like if you didn't grow up religious, I'm not sure that book hits the same way as somebody who grew up old. Like that's the whole thing. Like the book really means different things depending on your indoctrination, right? If you were indoctrinated into Christianity, right, that book feels completely different than if you never fucking believed that God exists and the Bible's true. You'll have a completely different experience with that book. So it's really interesting to see how people relate to the Book of Enoch when they have different, like no two people, it seems like, have the same experience coming in. The God helmet is another controversy involving the brain. I think it's flawed, obviously. I haven't heard about the God helmet. I'm gonna have to add that to my
I was just gonna say, let's look that up. I don't know what that is.
I mean, I was raised initially religious. My whole family went to a strict Catholic school, but we moved basically at the end of my 3rd grade. So after that, I went to a public school. And we still had to go to church and do, all that stuff. And when I was younger, I had to go to CCD. Did you have CCD when you were a kid, DA?
No.
It was basically like you had to
confirmation
to get confirmed. You would have to go to these like classes type of
correct
thing.
Yeah.
And I did it, and then our grandmother lived with us when I was young, and she was super religious, and my Italian grandmother. And after she passed, my parents weren't as strict as they were when we were growing up. And I was in public school, so it wasn't every day I was learning about religion. So I would say I'm a spiritual person, but I just don't go to church anymore.
I want to and I think I grew up super religious, and again, like for the confirmation thing, that's more of a Catholic thing, and I didn't grow up Catholic. I grew up in a church that hated the Catholics. That's the crazy part. Like I still have trauma over the whole thing. It's crazy. I wanted to mention the God helmet. So we said to talk about the God helmet. Let me read you something that I got, because I was asking AI to tell me what the God helmet is. Listen to this. The God helmet is a theory that refers to the idea that certain religious, spiritual, and paranormal experiences can be artificially induced by stimulating areas of the brain. So that they created a helmet that had electromagnetic coils in it that was designed to expose the wearer's brain to a weak magnetic field. And the researcher reported that if they stimulated the brain through these weak magnetic fields, a person could experience a presence in the room, feeling as if they're being watched by an unseen entity, out-of-body experiences, mystical experiences or feelings, and encounters interpreted as angels, spirits, or aliens. And so what this scientist apparently did is he put a helmet on people that stimulated the brain with magnets, and then they had the feeling as if something was watching them, communicating with them, or whatever, of a spiritual nature. So then the question becomes, is it all just electrical impulses in our brain and not a real phenomenon?
Well, that's really no different than like EMF.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing. That's what, a lot of your paranormal investigators will, actually check a house to make sure, when they're trying to debunk stuff, to make sure that you're not being affected by these, electric, the EMFs, so that they're trying to verify that your experience is actually real, and not that you're, crazy or anything, but EMF does have a effect on your brain. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And what's
Somebody was
interesting
trying
about
to
it is
do
that
it.
and what's interesting is I read further, and what happened was people tried to debunk his statement that electromagnetics were doing it, and people debunked it in a way by realizing that participants would still experience unusual stuff whether the helmet was active or not, like whether they switched it on, and actually they would still have the experience as if something was watching them. It had more to do with their expectations and their belief systems than it did to whether or not the device was actually working or not. So
well, that's transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's been shown to be, again, we can talk about the placebo effect, but it's been shown highly effective to treat major depressive disorder, like people who don't respond to medication, or they've been on medication so long that it doesn't help them. And it's the pioneer, because I did a paper on it.
I like Cat's Mojo. EMF, as soon as Robin mentioned EMF, my air conditioner kicked on and I thought she said PMS. You know what's funny about that? The phenomena of things happening at the same time you think or say something makes people believe that there's, and I'm not saying it's wrong or right. Like there's weird things that happen in your life that happen right after something else, and you're like, that's not a coincidence. That the fact that as soon as you said this, I've got a great story about something that happened. It was weird, but like when you see two events happen and then your mind says there's a connection between those two, some weird shit. I'm being super vague because I've got stories about it, but it's interesting you said that.
I mean, the thing is that there's so much that your thoughts can. You're like, we like to all think like, oh yeah, I've got a total grasp on reality. Like I see the world how it really is. But
yeah,
there's a lot of things that the older I've gotten, the more I've learned that a lot of stuff you project, and oftentimes you interpret things the way that for whatever reason you need to interpret them, even if it's not conscious.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
You think that of a song and it comes on the radio? Yeah, that's a weird phenomenon too. Like you're thinking of a song. Troubled Ocean. Good to see Troubled Ocean. I used to have a lot of conversation with Troubled Ocean, and I haven't seen her for a lot, but she's been showing up lately, especially in this All Channel. Lee, how about an episode about possession and exorcisms? Great one. In fact, on the movie night, I plan on covering The Exorcist, which is a classic. It's based on a real story of about a boy that was possessed in St. Louis, I think, and then they turned it into a female in the movie. But that's one of the things I definitely want to cover about exorcism and possession and things like that. So great topic. If you want to talk about it tonight, we certainly can. But if you want to wait for that, we could do that as well. So the very, very good question. It's funny because I know Troubled Ocean is more of a scientific brain. Like she doesn't. We've had conversations, her and I, over the last year, and I know she's more of an analytical and a little less spiritual, paranormal, connected kind of thing. Like everything has a better explanation, right? But she's also, her and I have had some conversations where, and she's taught me something crazy. Holy shit. I'm going off on a tangent. Troubled Ocean and I had a really interesting conversation about psychedelics and how they affect the brain, and in particular schizophrenia and the voices that people hear in their head. Crazy conversation. So, anyways, welcome, Troubled Ocean. It's good to have you here. Leah Stories. Let's have a call in of us talking about our parent. Yeah, for sure. Let's put the link if you want to come in.
I did.
Okay, you put the link out there, so I'll put it out as well. Yep. I don't know any other way to do the call in other than you can join us via the link on your web browser. You can. Oh, YouTube rejected your comment. It's fairly common when sharing a link. What? I can't share a link on my own channel? What the fuck? Let me try that one more time.
While you're
Yep.
doing that,
I
I
It
wanted
care.
to
won't, it
I
won't
wanted
let me
to
do it.
comment on your the whole music thing. You know, you hear a
Yeah.
song and then
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
turn on the radio. And I've talked about this before. That's, you know, radio waves, right? It's electromagnetic frequencies. I think your brain picks up on that. I really
Yeah.
do. I think our brains are all electrical energy, right? Everything around us is in
Yep.
some way, shape, has some of that in it. I think that it might just be of your brain's on a certain frequency and you're able to pick up that because it happens too often to just be chance, in my opinion.
So I got a deeper, so I agree with you. Like, if you think about the idea that radio signals are going out over the air as a frequency, as a vibration, and if you have the right receiver, you pick it up, right? So why couldn't our brain also maybe pick that up as well? So could that possibly be happening? But I think I get a little weird on the whole consciousness is much like that. Like, I feel like all of us in a weird, this is fucking weird. All of us in a way are like TV sets, right? And some TV sets have black and white, some are colors, some have 4K, some don't have 4K. Your TV set is based on the hardwiring of your brain. So there's a signal that's always going out that's transmitting consciousness, and your filter takes that signal and turns it into whatever. So I get kind of weird with the whole, like, are we just experiencing consciousness in the way that our TV set has allowed us to pick up that signal, if that makes any fucking sense whatsoever?
Well, no, I mean, that's like the whole collective unconscious. That's the
Yeah,
Carl
right.
Jung theory. I mean, that there is a collective unconscious that we're all tapped into. And I believe in that. I've talked about it many times on here. And I think, you know, now Carl Jung was coming at it from a certain angle. He didn't get into the physics of it necessarily. He looked at it from more of a spiritual angle. But I think so. I think your brain picks up on that. I think people are more connected than they believe. I mean, I have a book on deck called Hive Mind, and it talks about something that's kind of peripherally connected to that.
Yeah. So I as Sandra Sylvester says, you know, you don't want to do any demonic possession, anything, and make sure to give a warning if you do those topics. I will try to do that. I will say this. One thing I'm certain of is, if you're really dogmatic, if you're really religious and dogmatic and have strong beliefs, you're probably not going to like my channel, because I challenge those beliefs all the time. But I will try to do my best to be cognizant of some of the topics that I'm going to talk about are really going to be offensive to people with strong religious beliefs and stuff like that. And there's some topics that they don't want to have anything to do with, and I get that. Unfortunately, this channel is going to cover a lot of that. I grew up ultra religious in a very conservative church, and so I have very, very strong feelings about that kind of stuff. But I am also, because of that, I'm sensitive to people who are still in that system, and so I don't blame people for not wanting to have anything to do with it. And again, what I say about that is, I think probably people who are really super religious and dogmatic probably have decided a long time ago I'm not their cup of tea. But I will try to make some disclaimers on that as well. But yeah, it's this channel is going to be interesting for me to see what happens and how many, like, what I've been trying to do is kind of scattershot a bunch of different ideas. Again, I've got, so I did an episode on tarot cards and what I think about it, and then I did a review of a tarot deck, and then I'm going to have Sue from Revelation Tarot. Her and I have been talking about doing something together. But there's that part of me that goes, well, I'm afraid that's gonna pigeonhole the channel into being a tarot deck channel, and it's not. It's more than that. So I always have to be careful. Like, I want to make sure that I don't pigeonhole myself in one and same thing with the Book of Enoch series. Like, for me to do a weekly series on Enoch might give people the impression that the channel is about religion and spirituality, and it's not just that. So my biggest challenge is to try to make it for the best I can. The best I can give an analogy is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell and later George Norrie. That whole idea where they'd have different kind of weird things. Sometimes it's paranormal, sometimes it's aliens, sometimes it's this or that. That's kind of what I'm going for. But yeah, when I get on a roll for a while, I might talk about one topic for a while, and that might give the impression that that's what I'm about. So Leah Story says, I'd be neat if I get with Sue. Yeah, Sue and I have been talking. Sue from Revelation Tarot and I have been talking. She almost almost did something with her, I should say. I almost did something with her on the other channel, the true crime channel, because she was doing tarot readings on the Idaho 4 case. But I was a little bit of hesitant to do an episode like that, because I really can't go too far on you had a psychic intuition about something, and now that therefore that's likely to have happened. I couldn't do that on that channel. But Sue and I are going to work together on some stuff where this channel is a little bit more open-minded to explore those intuitions and those feelings. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to having Sue on here, and we're going to be meeting, I think, on Monday to talk about what we could do together on this channel. So it looks like she's got quite a bit of people in here that know who she is. So that's great. I'm glad that you're looking forward to that. What else do we have? I'm looking at the comments here. What is this long comment? Sandra Sylvester says, I love your channels, and it's not religious in nature, but it's, in my opinion, too real, and I've had luck or none, and I believe in paranormal, but the devil is a force to be reckoned with, but I'm tough. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, here's the thing. I hope you're open-minded enough for us to have discussions. I think personally, I grew up fearing the devil. I had nightmares. I had so many nightmares about the devil and about evil and stuff like that. And I have come to have a different understanding of that kind of stuff. I hope you'll keep an open mind about that stuff, and maybe reduce some of your fears if you have about that. But I understand that reducing your fears of that stuff is itself a fear, right? Because you don't want to let the evil in. So I hope you'll stay with me, and that you keep an open mind. And when I get onto those topics that you really can't handle, just tune out that day and maybe stay around for the stuff that you can. So hopefully we can have some discussions about that.
Lulu's asking about, do you believe the more vulnerable you are when facing challenges exposes you to dark forces?
Wow. So that's a really deep concept. I think, how do I say this? I don't know if this is the same way you're going for it, but I think that we talk about this a lot, because I get in a very negative space. My team knows me that I get in a very negative space. And I think that when you have a negative mindset, you attract more negativity. When you have a positive mindset, you attract more positivity. And so in that regards, I think, Lulu, when you're vulnerable, and then you open yourself up to dark forces, I think, yeah, like when you get yourself in a space where you feel beaten down and depressed and whatever, then bad things tend to happen to you, because you're kind of in that negative space, and it's like you're attracting more negativity. So would we word it exactly the same way? Like, I don't know if it makes you vulnerable to like possession or stuff like that, but I think that when you get yourself in a negative space, you tend to have more negative things happen to you. And when you stay in a positive space, you tend to have more positive things happen to you. I think that's generally what I believe. Trust me, my team knows better than anybody that I don't practice what I preach, because I don't stay in a positive space all the time. Sometimes I get very negative. But.
And that's when we make him put money in the negativity jar.
In the negativity jar, yeah.
I mean, I've just seen it so much in my own life, man. When you're in a negative space, it just seems like you feel like, oh, the universe is piling on me. But I really believe that, because I've experienced it in my life, and it's so many times that when you're in the right mindset and you put the right vibe out to the universe, I believe that the universe sends that back to you. It may not be right at the moment you want it to, but it always does.
I will say this. I like along this idea. I think dark things prey on the weak sometimes. I will say, without getting too weird, I think there are entities or even people who are kind of like psychic vampires. They like prey upon people who expose weakness or can be brought, and they thrive on your pain and your misery. And so I do think that's a phenomenon, that there are people who actually get their energy from sapping your energy. So again, I'm being super vague on these topics. I'm going to talk more in depth about these topics as we go on the channel, but those are some things that I do believe.
I think like psychopaths can sense things
Yeah.
about people.
Yeah.
I think that like I mean it's just I've seen it so many times in regular life too, where people like always feel like they're being picked on and things like that. They if you present an aura like I've been tested in battle, right? People they know that and they don't.
Yeah.
That's why you might be in a friend group with people and one person for some reason always gets shit from people. Just literally like they're not even soliciting it. It's
Yeah.
because they project a certain way of being and they're always like, oh, they're taking advantage of me. You can only, in my opinion, be taken advantage of if allow yourself to. And if you, there's a book, a book I read once. There was a series of them, and it's like a really short book, and there's like several of them. It's called
Oh yeah.
BE, and the guy says it in that book too, and I think he's spot on. He's like, people know, like, if you're someone who gives you aura, like, don't mess with me because I've been tested and I
Yeah.
won't fold. They don't mess with you.
Right. Yeah, a lot of it has to do with the projection of your own mentality. And Lenny Mo, like for me, like for example, a lot of people who practice magic or tarot, I use the term magic. Again, these terms will make more sense as we get to know each other better. But people who practice magical arts or tarot or Ouija board, a lot of people have what I would call, and I don't mean this offensively, a superstition, right? Which is to say, I need to do a protection ward before I do this. Before I use tarot or I use a Ouija board, I could be inviting evil spirits in. So I'm going to do a protection ward that says, I don't want anything evil into my and it's an intention setting, right? It's an intention. I don't want bad things to happen. I want only good things to happen. And I think for me, it's more about that. It's more about intention setting than the ritual of the protection mechanisms with that. Again, I have a different understanding from my walk and my experience on what evil and good is. And so I don't view protection rituals and wards the same way. Lenny Mo, yeah, you can come up as well. Make sure we get that link put out there again. And see, apparently I can't post the link, so Robin will have to post that link again for you.
Yep.
But
I'm gonna
that's
post
for
it
me.
right now.
Yeah, come on up, Lenny Mo, and we can talk about it. But anyways, that's me for my belief. Let's see.
Okay, I put that out there.
Go, Lenny, go. I have the knowing sense my whole life has gotten stronger with age, 54, and confidence. Yeah, I've undergone some strange. Amanda's like, I'll take a hard pass on the Ouija board. Yeah, I had a weird experience as a child with the Ouija board. I grew up in the Adventist church and they were terrified about Ouija boards. It was a tool of the devil. I don't know why let me use this word, why I was possessed to try it. I don't mean that literally. I did try it when I was younger. I was so terrified to buy a Ouija board that we created one on a table because I was told you can actually tape letters to a table and use an upside down glass and use your hands on a glass on a smooth surface and it would still act the same. And it did. It did act for us. It did act the same. It actually moved from underneath our hands, and when we asked a question of it, it pulled right off the table and flew across the room a little bit. And we put it up, and we had a big, huge fight. My friend and I, like, did you do that? No, I didn't do that. You swear, don't fuck with me, you know? Then we did it again, and it pulled right off the table and off the floor, and we said, "That's it, we're done." And that was our experience with Ouija board at the time. Now, later, I went back and reapproached the subject after I got past my fears, but I have experiences with that.
I've done a lot of that when I was a kid. Whenever
Yeah.
like we'd have a barbecue or something. A family would come from out of state
Yeah.
to come to the barbecue, and they'd be staying over. You know, the adults would be playing poker or something upstairs, and the kids would all be downstairs. And two of the things that we would always do were the Ouija board and levitations.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would do those, you know, light as a feather, stiff as a
Yeah.
board,
Yes.
that whole
Light as a
thing.
feather, stiff as a board is classic.
And we would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can analyze it and talk about what enables that, but
Yeah.
that was something we did a lot when we were kids.
Did you ever do the Bloody Mary thing in front of the mirror?
Yep.
Where you spin 3 times and say Bloody Mary, and then by the 3rd time you come across, you're supposed to see like a bloody image of yourself in the mirror.
Yeah. That's
I never had that happen.
There was a lot. I don't know. Maybe kids just like that stuff because we would do all that stuff when we were kids. And you know how you were always like told, like, oh, there's this. If you're bad, they're gonna come and take you to this school for bad kids, and Margarita Tuttle is gonna get you, and all this. They had all these little crazy little myths and whatnot, and it's just funny, man. Like, and then I told you guys about the Collier School when we were kids. Remember, Robin pulled up pictures of it that one time.
Yeah.
And that was one of the places surrounded by mythology about like, oh, these kids died there, and we would drive there at night, and it was really spooky and ominous looking.
Yeah. Well, looks like we got Lenny Moe, by the way. And I'm assuming Lenore Moses backstage is Lenny Moe. Let's get Lenny Moe up. Hey, Lenny, what's going on?
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
I have a good story.
All right.
Oh.
Hi, Lenny.
Hi, JJ. So I was in high school and I had a best friend. And of course, I would go spend a lot of overnights at her house. She had a sister that was into all kinds of stuff, channeling and whatever you remember what's the writing that they can
automatic writing.
Automatic writing. I mean, so when I was over there, her sister, we were always with her sister, and we did the Ouija board, we did all that stuff, all of it. And I knew this girl for 2-3 years, my best friend. And so all of a sudden, one time in high school, we were all going out and partying. And I'd say partying, but she wasn't drunk. I wasn't drunk. None of us were on drugs. But all of a sudden, she was laying on the couch and speaking words that none of us knew.
Yeah.
And then my boyfriend and I were outside at the sliding glass door, and it was open, and she looked over to me, and she just glared at me like I was the worst person. And so we all decided we needed to do something about it. And I don't remember how it happened, but she got moved to a bedroom. And I am not kidding you. She was saying all those, what is in tongue and all that? Whatever
Speaking
the
in
devil
tongues.
does. Yeah, whatever the devil does.
Yeah.
And I didn't know she knew any of that, and I don't think she did. So anyway, she's on the bed and she's screaming this stuff, and all these guys, we had 5 big guys holding her down, and they couldn't hold her down. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Then go ahead.
Right. Well, I was going to say, I mean, unrelated to spiritual things, there's been phenomena where people, little women that, weigh, 118 pounds have lifted cars off of somebody that was crushed because they just haven't, like, there's weird phenomena where people get superhuman strength for a reason that we don't understand. Not just from the spiritual thing, but that's happened in other situations too. So it's weird that the human body can overcome some of those obstacles, you think that you should have. But.
Yeah, it was a really scary night. Very scary.
Yeah.
And the thing is that because her and her sister were so into that stuff, and they didn't do like white light and candles and stuff like that to protect themselves.
Yeah.
They didn't do any of that stuff. So I know darn good and well she was possessed, and Anyway, it was a terrible thing. And we called in a bunch of people from the church. And this was like at 2 or 3 in the morning. And they actually came. We had about 8 people from the church. And they all prayed over her and all that and all that. And she calmed down and went to sleep. It was the worst thing in the whole world for us to see that happen.
Yeah.
Try and understand it. It was really, that was something.
So what happened? What happened to her after that event? Did she go on to live a normal life, or?
She did. So her parents told us none of us could ever speak to her again, because we actually, as a group, we all went to her parents and told them. And then they said, well, we couldn't talk to her ever again. So she was actually my best friend, and came my, what do you call that when you, the 10-year, when you go back from the school to 10 years?
Oh, like a reunion?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
10-year
high school
reunion.
Yeah.
And she was there. And I thought, oh shit, I'm not going to talk to her. But we ended up talking. And then we became friends again. And she's fine.
Yeah.
She's
What's it?
perfectly
It's
fine.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, and again, that's why I was curious what the end result was for the rest of her life, whether things changed for her or whatever. So yeah, thank you for sharing that story. I've got Jeff H backstage now. This is going to be super fucking interesting. I'll tell you that.
Thank you, you guys.
Oh boy.
I
Thank you.
wanted to say
Thank you.
something,
Thank you
Lenny,
coming
for
up.
you.
Oh yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's wife was
Oh, gosh,
Lenora,
Stevie Ray. Yeah.
and he wrote a song, a beautiful instrumental called Lenny, for his wife.
Oh wow.
Oh. So how is it spelled?
Well, her name was Lenora, but she went by Lenny.
Yeah.
And so if you look up the song Lenny,
I will.
it's a beautiful instrumental. It's pretty famous, actually. So I
Stevie
just
Ray
wanted
Vaughan.
to point that out.
So my mom got my name from a Marty Robbins album.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
I love that name, Lenora, Lenny. That's great. That's a great
Yeah, thanks for coming up tonight, and I hope you'll join us again on
guys. I love you.
You bet. Have a good one.
Bye, Lenny.
Bye.
All right, Jeff H, what is up, sir? You there?
Hey guys. Why can't I hear you? My phone just went silent.
That's not good.
What is
the
up?
paranormal taking over.
Come on. I was just hearing wait.
No worries.
Access is allowed. Oh man. I thought we finally found a subject where we don't have conflict. We can talk about paranormal.
We'll probably still have some conflict, but you can't hear us still? You can't hear us? Looks like he's having some technical difficulties still, so we'll wait. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks. By the way, thank you, Lenny, for sharing.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Dang. Yep, I see you nodding your head. What is going on?
Sometimes if you go out and come back in,
I closed YouTube completely. Let me close everything except my browser.
There's glitches. We've had them with StreamYard many times.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the chat here too. Liv, I was doing all kinds of
permissions for camera, microphone are all turned on.
Maybe exit and come back. Exit and come back.
Go out and come back in. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hey, I didn't know I knew sign language. Cool.
Okay, real quick, I have a short story that's a wacky story. Because people were talking about, like, you don't see somebody for a while, that something crazy happened, and you see them years later. When I was young, like I was probably, I don't know, 16 or 7. No, I was probably maybe 17. I went with these guys to like a beach party. It was like this like hidden cove that kids would hang out at and drink and stuff like that. And we were hanging out there, and guys were like, oh, we need some like chips or something. We need to get some snacks. So there was a 7-Eleven right down the road. We went, me and 2 other guys in this big old boat of a car, but we're all sitting in the front seat because we go and we get the chips and stuff, and we're all passing them around the front seat. And the guy, my buddy, takes a wrong turn and he goes down a side street, and we start pulling into someone's driveway just to do a U-turn. The instant, literally, Simon, as we are turning into his driveway, the garage door goes up and a guy walks directly out towards us, walks over to the side of the car, pulls out a giant like K-bar knife. This person was like waiting or something. Pulls a giant K-bar knife out, walks over to the window, goes, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And we're like, we're just turning around. We're just making a U-turn. Swear to God, he goes, "Give me some chips." And we're all like,
Give me some
we're
chips.
Like, here, man, here, have some chips. And he goes, "Now get the fuck out of here." And we were stunned because just the way that all happened. When we went back to the party, nobody believed us that happened.
I've got a story. I got a story like that.
For
too.
years, we would tell people the story, and people would be like, "There's no way that didn't really happen." And then 20 years later, I'm at a local bar, and I don't live in that area anymore. And I'm at this local bar, and I run into a guy who was one of the 3 guys that I hadn't seen in decades.
Yeah.
And we both recounted the story exactly the same. Like, it wasn't like I was telling the story to people years later and exaggerating it. He's like, "Oh my God, that was the craziest thing." He's like, "People don't believe me when I tell them that story." Pulls
That's
out a
awesome.
giant like K-bar style knife, goes, "Give me some chips." Now get the fuck out of here.
You're like, yeah, you remember.
Oh, it was the craziest story, man. It was
All right,
great.
let's give Jeff H another shot at this. What's up? Did you hear us this time?
Oh my gosh, I hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. I can. Yeah. What's
Yes.
up?
Awesome. Man, that's a funny story about the give me some chips. Actually, I play in a band called the Jack Pooley Band. You can find him on iTunes. But he's got a funny song where he just says, "Give me some milk money so I can buy me a pizza." It's just a silly song, but check him out if you can. Hey, but
sounds
you guys
like a punk rock
paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was it was, what, I don't know how old I was, before high school days, but we played around with the Ouija board one night.
Yeah.
And we were over at a friend's house, and my mom's friend from high school is her friend. So her friend has like 5 kids. There's the oldest kids, though. I was one of the oldest kids, and there's 4 of us. We were down in the basement of this house with a Ouija board, and we sat, in a square around it. And the only thing in this room, I mean, it was like an unfinished basement. I mean, it literally unfinished, nothing but concrete, dusty floor. The only thing in the room is like a single like chair, over in the corner. And so we're messing with this thing, and I am telling you, I don't know how everybody else's experience with the Ouija board is, but this thing answered questions quickly, no hesitation. Things I can remember, like we asked it. Well, there was a girl that was part of the group. We said, "Okay, what movie did she see last week? The last movie that she saw?" And it instantly said Red Dawn. That shows you how far back this was. This was when Red Dawn was in the movie theater. And
so it spelled all that out with the letters, individual letters.
Every letter. Yeah. No problem with spelling. It was not quite as fast as like a ChatGPT, but it was fast.
Yeah.
One of the things that it did do, and because we decided, it's like, come on, we're asking this thing questions that at least one of us know the answer to. And so it's probably, even though we can't understand how just barely touching this thing, and it didn't feel like anybody's moving it. It just feels like it's moving, right?
Yes.
And so we decided, okay, we got to start asking it questions that nobody knows the answer to. And like a dummy, my best friend Mark, don't do this. If you ever use a Ouija board, don't do this. Dumbest thing you could ever do. He asked it how old he'll be when he dies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Right.
And
And what
so,
does that do? That just puts in your head, shit, I only got like 5 more years to live or whatever. Like
right.
you're just gonna stuck, you're gonna stuck with it.
So the answer, ironically, it's almost like that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but it was 42. and and so when he was 42, I mean, that was the worst year for him.
Right. He was
I mean,
probably
the 40,
terrified that this is the year.
yeah, yeah, but the
Yeah.
43rd birthday, I imagine, is the best day, because he realizes, okay, it was wrong. But yeah, then the other weird thing that it did. Now, I tend to kind of have an explanation for this, but like I said, we were the oldest kids in down there, just the four of us, and then there was these younger kids that were, playing upstairs and stuff. So anyway, we asked the Ouija board. We saw there's just one chair over in the corner. That's the only thing in this entire room. We said, "Can you move that chair?" And it
Oh
said,
wow.
"It said not now."
Yeah,
And then I don't
that
know how
reminds
long
me of The Exorcist. Like, not yet.
yeah, we all wanted to see that thing move, and it
Right.
never did. But
In time. Yeah.
we did notice later it was in the other side of the room. And the only thing I can figure is that there was a moment where the younger kids came around and they were running around us in a circle and making noise. And we're like, "Get out of here. We're doing so. This isn't for kids. Get out of here." So my only explanation has got to be that one of them moved the chair. But who's to say that this whatever didn't cause them to move the chair?
Well,
It did say not now.
yeah, it's funny. It's funny because I was going to ask the question, like I don't know how old you were when you did that, but one of the things I was going to say is like a lot of younger kids play with this stuff because it's like you've been told not to, and so you got the whole child thing, like I'm going to do what my parents told me not to do, kind of thing. And
Right.
and so where I'm going with that is like children sometimes see imaginary friends, right? And then the parents tell them, the adults tell them, that's just in your head, it's not real, it's whatever. And sometimes I wonder, do children really see stuff? Do they really communicate? And the parents tell them that's not real, it can't be happening. Same thing with the Ouija board. Do teenagers or young children who are playing with it experience it because they believe it really can happen? But as you get older, as your adulthood creeps in, you're like, that doesn't work, that's bullshit. You get less and less able to tune into that shit. Like, is there a possibility that the older you get, the less likely it works for you because you don't have the childhood innocence that just allows that to happen? I wonder,
Well,
how
I mean,
old
it's
were
like-
you when
like
that happened with your group?
How what?
How old were you guys when you guys did that group? that session?
I'm thinking, because I know we were probably like 14, maybe 15, I think. I know this group was like, it was around the puberty age, because I remember it was with this group that I finally went and saw Porky's. I think that was like the first naughty movie I was ever able to see. It was back in the
shower scene, man. The shower
scene and the tallywhacker.
Oh yeah.
But the one other thing that was we asked the Ouija board to do, I think this is the last thing I really remember it doing with this thing, but we asked it how fast it could take that what do you call it? The thing starts with a P, the thing you put your hands on.
The planchette.
Yes. And we
Yeah.
asked it how fast it could go in a circle. And so it starts going around and around and around. I'm trying to think now. I think each of us have 2 hands on it, I believe. Or is it 1 hand each? I can't rember now.
Usually
But
it's 1 hand. Each person.
it's usually
puts
one.
hand. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was, because I don't think we could fit 8 hands on there. Yeah, I think you're right. So because that's what I remember, it's going around and around and around. It's got 3 little feet with a little felt pad on the bottom of each foot, and the one foot goes over the edge of the board right in front of me. And so I remember taking my hand and just lifting it up off the edge of the board, and boom, it starts going again, as if like a dog that like you're holding him back, and then now he's free to go chase the cat. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Of course, now the next weekend I went back and it was just me and one other person, and we got nothing out of the board. It was
right.
And I've never ever had, well, I've never even tried another Ouija board experience. It was a little too freaky. But yeah, when I saw when somebody in the chat mentioned Ouija board, I thought, oh my gosh.
It's funny. It's funny you mention it, because when I was probably 14 as well when I tried it the first time with my friend, and the thing, and all I can say is, I'm convinced. I remember it to this day how it felt. We both had our hands just lightly kind of touching it, and that glass that we used as the planchette jerked away from us. Like it literally, and it freaked us out because it was clear to me my friend didn't push it. Like that, we were both like, "Did you just push that?" But like it felt like it jerked out from underneath us, and we had to make an effort to keep our finger on it as it moved away from us. It was the weirdest experience.
Right. Yeah.
And I was convinced it moved
like
on
you
its
fall
own.
off the back of the train or back of a pickup truck. It's like,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
And like you, and like you just said, I later went back decades later, and I said, well, I'm going to get one of these and I'm going to try it with my wife, and see if we can communicate with something, because I was more open to the idea of like, I'm not going to be afraid of this. Let's just try it. We couldn't get shit. From the board. Like there was nothing, and I'm like, well, that's a waste of time. Like we tried several times, and just like, this is a waste of our time. So again, then I start to think, well, is it because we were younger, and when we were younger, we were more open to the idea and we're more believing? But as you get older, you start to have all these doubts creep in, and so I don't know. I'm still curious about how that works or doesn't work. And
was it like on the
on.
opposite of the good and evil sides of things? I mean, I know there's in the Bible it says that God is a still small voice. So that you've got to really listen. For. And is it possible that sometimes, well, not to say that spirits in this thing, or if it is even spirits, or evil or bad, I don't know, but maybe it has something to do, and maybe it's in that realm of that still small voice. And yeah, like you said, we can't hear it anymore. One other thing that wasn't my experience with the Ouija board, but is my mom's, because my mom used to do the Ouija board, and they would keep notes. They would write down what the thing said and keep a journal. Hopefully she still got that thing somewhere. But I do remember one thing she said. She said there were multiple times where they tried to throw that board away, and somehow it would come back. Like, like somebody, I think, a neighbor would say, "Oh, hey, you found this in your trash. I think you accidentally threw it away." It's like, no, we're trying to throw it away. I think they ended up burning it just to be sure that it was not going to come back, because I get the sense it was multiple times, unless it's an exaggerated memory to make a good story. Who knows? I don't know.
That's the thing. My childhood is full of stories of people who claim that they tried to throw boards away and it kept showing up again, or they burned it and they heard it scream. And like I've heard a million. Yeah, my dad told that story, that he went to a church function and they were burning records, like the Beatles album and stuff like that, and somebody threw a Ouija board on the fire and it screamed, and he never said he'd forget it. But I was like, it's hard. Like, so then people started using their analytics. Well, you realize it's made out of wood, and if the wood catches fire and it's got wet, it's going to make a hissing sound. And the analytical brain took over. Like, it couldn't have been a scream; it must have just been the wood burning that you heard or whatever. So,
right at the last moment, as it was burning, did it give a thumbs up out of the lava?
It might have, yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing those stories, and I don't know what to think about it, other than I don't have the same fears that I used to have about it, but I also it doesn't work the same way that it did when I was younger, and so that's why I always wonder if our childhood naivety allows us to be more open to things. Then when we get, I get analytical, and I have an excuse for everything. Look, I have a ton of paranormal shit that happens in my life, and I always first go, well, we do live kind of near a train, and maybe the train got by and the house then settles, and so it's just the house settling at the weird. Like my analytical brain excuses away everything to the point that it's hard for me to accept that, like, maybe that shit was just unexplainable. It's just weird.
Right.
That's me.
Yeah, we're humans. We want an explanation. I'm sure a kid who you're trying. I remember my son. We're trying to teach him the word hot. It's like you can teach a kid the word hot until he touches the side of the stove. He's like, "What the hell's that? What is this?"
Yeah.
Oh, this is that hot thing you were talking about.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Thanks for having me up. It's nice to talk to you guys about a subject where I think.
Look, we had a civil conversation without tearing the shit out of each other, which was fantastic.
I'm telling you too. You know what? I mean, this is just my own personal opinion, but I think I'm capable of doing this type of conversation with anyone. I don't want to sound here like I'm sitting here whining, but there's so many times I go into chats and I go in friendly, and I will be on. I will take my responsibility for responding in a snarky way to attacks. But I'm never the first one to attack, because I'm a Christian. I believe in the Bible verse that says a soft answer turns away wrath, and I try to respond softly. But I mean, sometimes, you know, it just, and the thing is, I don't care how rude people get. I don't care how nasty people get, but I will never really understand, you know, I mean, have I gotten so snarky that I deserve to be blocked? Maybe so. I don't know, but I don't think so.
The hard part is it's really hard to get somebody's tonality and intention from text. That's the really hard part, right? So when you're reading somebody's text, it's not always clear what they mean in their intention because you're not hearing their voice. So I think part of that is that.
Yeah. I think that the point taken. Definitely.
Well, anyways, let's end there on a positive note tonight, and I appreciate it very much for you coming up, Jeff. Appreciate that a lot, and maybe we'll have you on again then sometime when you come up.
Thanks. Yeah, I look forward to it. I mean, I fell in love with doing this kind of thing right with Dago. That's where it all started for me, and it's not the same. It's not the same. I guess I somehow unfortunately ended up on the opposite side of things, and. What are you gonna do?
That case, we won't get into it here, but that case is emotionally charged for a lot of people. So it's the emotional charge part that makes it really hard for people. But anyways, thank you so much for coming.
All right, take care. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah. All right, take it easy.
I'll be right back, DA.
Oh, you got it. All right, you take a break there. I missed some of the comments probably while we were doing that. I saw somebody ask me about talking about. There was a question that says talk about what Mandela effect. That's an interesting concept. I would love to get into the Mandela effect sometime and whether or not that's real. I know I've certainly had a lot of weird experiences. Like, there's no way I'm remembering that wrong. That has to be some kind of weird fucking, like, what alternate reality did that all of a sudden become not how I remembered it? So I get it. The Mandela effect is a real thing. And if you're not familiar with it, that's the kind of like the idea that somehow we've changed timelines and that things that we remember now aren't the same way that they were in the old timeline. And so there's all these weird, creepy things like Fruit of the Looms has a different logo than it used to have. Or, you find out that your favorite cereal is not named the same way you always thought it was, whatever, and it's something else. And Skippy or whatever, peanut butter. Like, there's a million examples that when you give people a list of the Mandela effect, a lot of people will be like, there's no way, that's not what it was called. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff with the Mandela effect. So we'll do a special on that sometime, I think, coming up.
Yeah, that'd be awesome because I'm really interested in that kind of thing and the existence of various planes and the multiverse type idea, that kind of thing. So that would be a great show to do. Absolutely.
People are already, like, they're talking about, Amanda's talking about the Berenstain Bears. That's one of them. The monkey, who was the monkey that had the tail or not have a tail? Because I forgot, Curious George, whether or not he had a tail or not.
George, yeah.
There was the Fruit of the Looms and the cornucopia. That was another one. A lot of those things we just remember. Well, again, I'm not saying we remember it wrong. The question is the Mandela effect real? Did we remember it right? But things have changed. Some kind of weird ass. And look, there's weird theories about that shit out there. So yeah. Jeff H. The first Mandela effect comes to mind is Ann Taylor putting her hand on Brian's shoulder and saying, "Your Honor, Brian's innocent," but she didn't touch his shoulder. That would be a Mandela effect of a new level right there. So we'll avoid the Idaho 4 discussion here. That's for the other channel. But the Mandela effect is a creepy one. It's a really look. I mean, there's some strange Mandela effects. I will tell you that. Some really ones. And CERN, somebody typed it wrong. I think you're meaning CERN without the D in it, CERN, whether or not CERN created the Mandela effect, right? Whether or not the colliding of particles shifted our timeline and whether we fucking look, there's weird theories. There's weird theories that said that the world ended back in the 1980s and that we're living in some kind of alternate universe that actually everything got destroyed back in the 80s and we're living in an alternate reality that hasn't existed since 1980.
Let's talk about simulation theory for a minute.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Because we've heard a lot about that over the last probably 10 years. Think about this. Here's my take on the simulation theory. Wouldn't it be convenient if all these powerful oligarchs, these tech types who love to talk about simulation theory, could make you all believe, well, what does it all matter? Nothing really matters. It's all just a simulation. So we might as well just go along with whatever they want, go along with whatever the power structure wants, because, hey, it's just a simulation, right? I mean, to me, that whole idea, first of all, it's based on a mathematical equation, right? It's like a statistical thing. And I think these big tech types love to push that stuff on people because then what does it potentially do? Get people to relinquish control to these brilliant oligarchs who are so much smarter and amazing and brilliant. And then you do a little research and you find out none of these actual people created anything. They either stole it from other people who created it or they hired other people to do it. Yet they're put up in front of the world as these amazing geniuses. He went to MIT. Elon went to UPenn. So Peter Thiel went to what, Harvard, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Or or maybe Yale. Thiel went to. I can't remember, but Candace Owens she has a really interesting take on that stuff, and she's talked about it quite a bit. How, like, look at all these people, they start these amazing companies, they're brilliant, they're amazing, but then you look into their background and there's a lot of shady shit in there that you can find. So relating to the simulation theory, what do you guys think?
I mean, I have a lot of theories about the simulation theory, but I think I think our entire reality is not a simulation as much as it's not real. It's just a figment of our imagination. But that's a little bit different than the simulation theory. Like, I don't think we're programmed like a lot of the simulation things were basically just a computer program running. I'm more inclined to say that everything is just an illusion. But that's a whole other thing. I was going to say real quick before we get back to that, just real quick about the Star Wars thing. Remember the whole like, Luke, I am your father, but the real line is no, I'm your father. The weirdest part about that one was when James Earl Jones was talking about Star Wars and he said, Luke, I'm your father, but the movie has no, I'm your father. And people were like, see, even he remembers it wrong. And then it turned out that there was like a script that the original script said, Luke, I'm your father, but the movie actually did no, I'm your father, but people remember the Luke, which never got into the movie. Weird fucking shit there. Anyway.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Let's
Yeah.
just get a little freaky because it's devil's advocates beyond, right?
Yeah.
Imagine this scenario. I'll just paint this scenario. We know that the CIA and the NSA and the technology that's available to them, not to us, they could literally they could essentially hack just about anything, right? This is just a crazy thought.
Yeah.
So what if things are put out in the past and people remember them a certain way, and in the name of gaslighting people or trying to
Yes.
make people think they're crazy,
Yes.
they were able to change the things that people were certain about in the past through some crazy technology that they have, so that you go back and watch these things that you remember, you were sure that this is what really happened. But their technology, they have this advanced technology where they're able to hijack things and change them so that when people try to go back and look into it, they've been changed. So what does
Yeah.
that makes people start thinking they're crazy? I was sure about this. This
I've
reality that
sometimes,
I have.
right. I've sometimes wondered if the government would purposely try to experiment on whether they could convince the masses that they've misremembered something. And would a government experiment, like, let's see if we can get the entire population to believe something happened differently than it did by changing it and seeing if they could get the masses to groupthink themselves into a different reality. I wouldn't put that past them. And look who's
Right.
doing it,
Kind of
right?
like convincing them that, oh,
Yeah.
everything's meaningless because it's just a simulation.
Right.
Yeah, I don't put anything past them. And if it's true that they have all this technology that's way ahead of what we the public have, I mean, who's to say they can't do something like that? I mean, look at what's happening out on Skinwalker Ranch right now. The kind of
Mhm.
things that are happening out there. So, I mean, you know, I have no doubt they could do something like that.
Skinwalker Ranch is an interesting. By the way, one, did you want to say something before we get on a different topic?
No, just listening. I'll chime in. How are you guys doing?
What's up, Captain?
Good to
All
see
right,
you.
how are you?
Yeah, good. I hope you're staying safe.
Yeah, I had my run of the mill of going from strip club to strip club. They're all secure.
Oh yeah, I haven't done that for a long time. Yeah. Anyways, oh, you mean for your job? Sorry. Yeah. No, I didn't actually go to strip clubs a lot, anyways. But yeah, what was I going to say? I had a thought I was going to make, and now I fucking think
It was about Skinwalker.
Oh, the Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah. So part of me, here's the thing about Skinwalker Ranch, right? So if I remember right, this location had a lot of legends of weird shit happening. It had a lot of history, right?
Yes.
And then some billionaire or whatever bought the land, and then it
Yes.
became a phenomenon with the series of TV shows and whatever. And it began to wonder, like, here's the thing. Can it be a little bit of both? That there's real things that happened there, but then when somebody bought it, it became a commercial thing. So now they start faking shit. And then when they start faking shit, it discredits all the real shit that happened there. Like, it makes you wonder,
No.
like, are they doing weird shit now to just try to like perpetuate the myth that maybe was based on reality, but now they made big money and an investment on it, so they got to keep it going? Like, what do you think?
No, we watch it. And the things that are happening there, and one way I know is because in the one episode they had a Native American drumming circle group come.
Yeah.
And while that was playing, Native Americans do not mess with this stuff normally. They do not. And as they were playing their drums, they were trying to draw in a certain energy, and some weird stuff was going down. And when that episode was over, the people, Brandon Fugel and the rest of the team, Brandon is the one who now owns Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And when that episode was over, they gave a standing invitation to this group to come back, and they said, "No, we will never come back."
Right.
They were like, no. And there is a lot of the symbolism up on the mesa. There is a a medicine spiral, and throughout the years there have been sightings of ships coming down, going into the mesa at that place, and things that have been reported by Native Americans in the area. And like I said, they don't mess with stuff, and they avoid that ranch like the plague. It is rare that you will get a Native American to step on that place. And about 50 miles to the south, there's what's called Blind Frog Ranch. They have a lot of the same stuff going on there. So both ranches, like I said, as the crow flies, they're about like 50 miles apart. And so they both have a lot of stuff concerning UFOs, strange creatures, a lot of different, like, for lack of a better word, I can't remember the name of, they call it like electrical force fields going on, fences that are burned, but no fire. I mean, it's just amazing what's going on there, and I have no doubt that
a weird ass place where
my handler made a comment, so I want to make sure I respond.
Oh yeah, Bohemian Grove. What?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
I live near a place that has Illuminati statues in like right out in the open, and I've taken pictures of them because I have a friend who's always like, "Did you see that Illuminati statue?" So I take pictures of them.
Sure.
And I always like to wind my buddy up because I'm like, yeah, well, this place is a place where really wealthy people have houses and they go to vacation and things like that. It wouldn't surprise me at all that they have statues like that. One of them's really creepy, and it's just in the most random place, and it's totally out of place. It does not have any relevance to the area. So that kind of shit. So Bohemian Grove.
Yeah,
I'm
Bohemian
sure-
Groves does have a lot of symbolism with the spiders and the owls and I got introduced to Bohemian Grove from the crazy man, right?
Alex Jones,
When
yeah.
Alex Jones
Yeah.
broke into Bohemian, and I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen, and I can't remember who the senator was, the senator that attacked him on the White House steps, getting pissed off, like, I can't believe you broke in there. I disrespect you for that. That's private property. I'm like, so you're admitting that shit goes on there? Like, what are you fucking talking about? Like,
Alex is CIA, by the way, just so you guys know.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely CIA. I mean, he's like, there's only like one other person that's more obviously CIA than Alex Jones. He's the most obvious CIA I've ever seen. Well, one of the most. There's a couple of other ones that are really obviously CIA, but he's the most perfect limited hangout ever created.
Yeah.
So
I
got something for you to ponder about.
Yeah.
It fits with this channel. It's something I've always been interested in. I don't really know a ton about it, but I know they've had a few specials on whatever, I don't know, whatever. I don't think it was on Netflix, but what do you think about that? I'm sure it has a name because everything has like a certain name. It's kind of like this phenomenon that there are kids who are the ages between 2 and 5. So and I know there are places that actually have done or are currently doing studies and stuff on it where they somehow are able to have like memories or something of a prior deceased person that would be like impossible. Like you're taking a 2-year-old to 5-year-old, they're learning to talk and all that stuff. Like how would they have memory of like this prior deceased person? Like they know like weird things about it. And then even further to that extent, sometimes they'll even have like some kind of birthmark or something that may even have symbolize like an injury or somehow that had to do with the person. It's weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I read a book. It was a kind of a scientific book by a researcher that was studying that whole thing and about the, in particular, children that were having memories of past lives and having elements that related to injuries from their past life, and they would have memories about it. And it was kind of done by a person who had a scientific mind and was actually documenting the weird shit that was happening. So I think it's a thing. And again, going back to what I said earlier, there's a part of me that thinks children are more tapped into it. Again, I really have this theory that as adults, we get that stuff beat out of us, right? We get told to reject. So children are wide open, especially between the ages of 2 and 5. They're wide open to shit, and they believe everything that they're told, and they're like sponges, and they learn super fast. And I think at that age, again, adults tell them that what they're experiencing and what they're feeling or whatever are inappropriate or not right or not true, and then they shut that stuff off. And as adults, it's hard to get that back once you've been deprogrammed. So I think it is weird that children seem to have a connection with stuff that adults tell them can't be true, and then you lose it when you get older. But yeah. Looking at some comments here. But yeah, no, I can't remember the name of that book. In fact, I have it in my Kindle collection, the book about the kind of past lives and stuff like that. And I remember reading a story about a kid that had very detailed memories of a previous life that he had never had. I had an experience, by the way, when somebody was talking about when Lenny Moe was on here talking about somebody's talking in languages, speaking in tongues. I had an experience with a friend, a very good friend, who was on a spiritual journey. Let's say that he was using a substance to get in an altered state of mind, and he started speaking in a weird language. And at some point, when he was singing, he was actually singing in a weird language, and he stopped. And he looked at me and he goes, "How the fuck did I learn how to speak Swahili?" And I'm like, I have no idea what you're speaking, and I don't know if it's Swahili. He goes, "Yeah, no, that's Swahili." like I know it. And I was like, I don't know. Like I didn't record it, so I didn't go to prove that it was Swahili. But he was like stunned at himself, like, how the hell am I singing in Swahili? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, weird shit. Eyes Wide Shut, great show. I love that. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, that's a good movie. I used to, when I was a kid, I would talk in my sleep, and people would say that I use like really crazy vocabulary that I obviously didn't know at that point in my life.
Yeah.
That I would just be saying all these words that a 9-year-old kid wouldn't be using, that I didn't use. And I would, I'm asleep, so I don't, this is before everybody had a recorder on their phone and had phones and things to record stuff with. But I believe that there's a lot of stuff that's unexplained, that we're tapped into it. We're just not aware of it.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that's
why I believe in the collective unconscious.
and that's what I think, by the way, to go into the tapping into things, I think I'm just going to share some of my feelings, right? So, talking about intuitive tarot, like Sue and Revelation Tarot and some of the stuff that I talk about,
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of going back to that childlike mentality. Like some people are able to go back and open themselves up to what it was like to be a child and lower the resistance that tells you that shit doesn't work. And then if you can truly lower your resistance that this doesn't work, then you can tap into things, I think. And that's kind of how I think that stuff works is if you can get yourself to open up your mind to the possibility that it really does work, and get over your preconditioning that it's not true, then you can tap into stuff. And I think I think as a people, we've forgotten a lot of things that we used to be able to do personally. But
well, and it's also that we shouldn't discourage kids when they're telling us some of these things. I think
yes,
it's detrimental because you're essentially accusing the child of lying
Yeah.
when they're telling you something.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it seems fantastical to you, but if you investigate it and examine it, then you can determine whether it is the child's imagination or if there's credibility to it.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
I do
Yeah.
have a story about that. My niece was about 5 or 6, and now my grandfather passed away when he was 42 of a massive heart attack, so there's no way that my niece would have ever met him. And when, like I said, she was staying overnight at my mom's house, and mom had a picture of Pap like on the TV stand because she had an old console old console TV, and she had a picture of my Pap on there. And Steph, she went by it the one day, and she stopped and she looked at it, and she kept looking and looking, and he was in his service uniform, and she said, Grammy, she's like, he comes and plays with me all the time.
Yeah.
And mom's like, what? And she said, yeah, he comes and plays with me all the time. His name is John. And that was my Pop's mate. Now, no one had ever told her anything about him. She was too little. She was too little. And in our family, especially on my mother's side, there is a lot of that kind of thing. So I have no doubt in my mind that he did visit her.
Yeah.
And so we never discouraged her about it. We never said, no, that can't, we've never discouraged her about it. So, and she's now 32. So
you remind me actually of well, it's only a few years ago, maybe I guess like 3 years ago. So, my mother unfortunately passed away in December of 2013 of pancreatic cancer. She knew, she knew my, my wife, but I wasn't married yet, and it was before I had any of my, she obviously didn't get to know my kids, and at my parents' house, there's a picture of my mom holding. She was like kind of big into like she loved playing like games and all that. So I had, you know, like a year or two before she passed away, I had gotten her an iPad, and I put, you know, she's like got a lot of enjoyment out of that. There's a picture from her birthday. It's just her holding the iPad, and you know, my father has remarried and whatever, and the picture is in the living room, kind of like in the back. But when my son was 3 years old, you know, no one had talked to him or anything, or said like who it was or anything. I was gonna wait till he was like a little bit older, you know, to kind of show pictures of her and whatnot. And he walked over to the picture, and he was like, and he just kept saying Gaga. So he calls my mother-in-law. He calls my mother-in-law Gaga. So he's like it was just like weird. Like he had no way of knowing that this was his grandmother. It was just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I'm
I'm really
that's
convinced kids are
fascinating.
more attuned to that kind of stuff. I really think
Yeah.
they are. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're
they-
not afraid. They're not afraid
No.
like we are. They don't
No.
like
And
when they encounter that, they don't think you know, it doesn't
right.
inspire that kind of fear like when you're an adult, you know?
Right. Another thing, just to touch on, not to go into a huge big thing, but just to say, you know, there is the statement you made, Robin, because I could tell you, not going into true crime, but just saying, just correlating. A lot of times, I can't tell you how many times I've responded to like domestic violence type jobs, and you know who tells us the truth are the kids.
yeah,
That's right.
Like you have like I mean,
That's right.
obviously you have like you know, you can't ask a 2-year-old, but you have like you know, a 4 or 5-year-old. I had a 5-year-old once. You know, we went to the scene, we were called, and we couldn't really determine. Like I think, you know, we have all these things in place. You try to separate the parties and all that. But I think the mother was just so afraid of telling us what happened, even being separated. So I went into they had a 5-year-old in like a bedroom. I went into the bedroom, you know, with some other officer. I think a female officer actually. Like we didn't want to like overwhelm the kid, and I was just, you know, kind of trying to talk friendly to the kid, you know, to the child, like what happened, whatever. And the kid said, "Oh, Daddy dragged mommy across the carpet by her hair." And he was like, and I don't think he was making any of it up. He was
Yeah.
telling us exactly what happened. So kids
Right.
will. I know
Mhm.
some people are like, "Oh, kids like to make stories." To a certain point, yeah, but kids will tell you the truth. They really will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon, and I definitely think that. And by the way, here's another thing to get into a different. Again, I'm going to do a special on this sometime too. But I hope I don't say this wrong. But between the ages of like 3 to 7 or 5 to 7, children spend the majority of their brainwave activity in a different brain state than adults do. And it makes them, and scientifically, they're saying that they think that's the reason why kids pick up and learn stuff so fast, is they're kind of basically in a dream state. Their mind is in the, the theta brain state instead of the alpha brain state. And so their brain literally works on a different frequency, and it makes them more open and receptive. It's another reason why when children, and this is the horrible thing, when children are told at that age, "You're stupid, why can't you be like your brother," or whatever, that sticks with them for life. They're very programmable when they're in that theta state, and everything you tell them becomes their belief system for the rest of their life. And then when they get older, it's hard for them to get out of that, because they internalize and believe everything when they're in that that very accepting state. So if they're told all the time by their parents, you're so smart, you're great, you do all these things, and they'll tend to have that belief going into adulthood. If they're told they're stupid, dumb, not worth anything, they'll tend to have that low self-esteem the rest of their life because they're in a very programmable state during that brainwave activity. But
Wow. So my son is 6, and I guess I have him going. He's been going for over just a little over a year now. I have him going to jiu-jitsu. I told him I want him to kick people's asses. So I guess.
So be careful what you ask for.
I know.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I don't want to go too late tonight, but I do want to be able to. I tend to limit these things to about 2 hours. I want to give us about 15 more minutes to come up with questions. I mean, I do that more for also my panel as well. There are a lot of these people are more on the East Coast, and for them it gets very late. And I also have to take a break at some point. Are there any other questions, comments you guys want to talk about tonight? I hope that you guys, by the way, are checking out my channel. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do that. We're really trying to get a certain number of watch hours so that we can turn on members only content. We can provide some stuff that's a little less popular for members only. We'll try to keep the price down really, really low so that you don't have to spend a bunch of money to do it, but it allows you to watch some of those fringe stuff. So hopefully you've done that if you haven't already. How often do you plan to do these lives? Right now, Liv, we're planning on doing Friday nights like this every single Friday night after the Crimes After Dark. That's the current plan. And then Monday, we're going to replace the Crimes After Dark at 5 p.m. with this show doing kind of movie deep dives on some movie. So that's the plan right now. So 2 times a night or 2 times a week. Mondays at 5 p.m. and then Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
And the Matrix, right, is the first.
Yeah,
movie?
the Matrix will be the first movie we're going to cover. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got a whole list of movies, but I figured The Matrix is one of the granddaddies of movies that have a lot of symbolism and a lot of deep shit. If at least for me,
oh yeah,
I see a lot of deep shit in that. You know? Yeah. All right. Other questions, comments before we go? This is a good opportunity to ask your last questions. I have been paying attention to the topics people want to talk about. So again, Mandela effect would be a cool one to do a topic on. Children and brainwaves would be something that I'm interested in talking about more.
Yeah, that would be a great one. Yeah.
Yeah. Kimber, thank you for saying, everyone have a good night. Thanks for it's kind. Being kind is free. Being kind is free. Very, very cool. What is that? Lee, please read them. Read them? What does that mean? Gate program. Let's see. I'm looking through some comments. It's Friday. Had no clue. Is it? Yes, it's Friday. It's Friday night. We followed up this show from Friday Night Effery. You know what I mean? What about the telepathy tapes? I don't think I've seen the telepathy tapes. Is that a documentary? Sounds familiar. It does sound familiar.
And I think Liv was talking about the Gateway
Project
program. Yeah, like Gateway Kids, Gateway Schools.
Yeah. That would be good to talk about for sure. Yeah. Lee, what about when
this might be?
Lee, what about when you're an only child and your parents always wish you were like the neighbor's daughter, but the neighbor's daughter ended up robbing a bank? Be careful what
Yeah.
Maybe parents don't always know best.
Yeah.
The main thing I want to say, by the way, I see people say that they love the conversations. Look, we have people in here who are Christian, who have religious beliefs and whatever. The biggest thing I ask you is to keep an open mind, because when we talk about things, we're going to talk about things that are going to challenge people's dogma and belief systems. You also might have firm beliefs about whether or not your dead grandma has visited you or whatever. Just keep an open mind to all of it, because we're gonna kind of explore things just like we do on other channels. We play devil's advocates. What if it wasn't this? What if it wasn't that? And so just keep an open mind, and if you do so, I think you'll enjoy the conversations and maybe learn something a little bit about yourself. Hopefully, we all do, including myself. So yeah.
But I think that's great, because unfortunately, I'm not telling anyone what to believe, but I think kind of like what you said, from when you're a kid, and they start to believe or whatever, things that you tell them. I think a lot of like just regular, normal beliefs that people have, it comes from just like internal, programming. Where, like the old saying, if every day people keep telling you that you're stupid, eventually you start to believe that you're stupid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Jen A says, Lee, love the channel. Jen A, keep going and use your unfiltered beauty, and it will grow. I appreciate that so much. I really do. I have to say, and Robin knows this more than anybody, one as well. I tend to not believe in myself very much because I keep thinking that we should be doing better than we are, and the channel doesn't grow, and I watch other channels surpass us and do better. And I'm like, why is it everybody does better at this than I do? Why do I suck so much? I get very down on myself. So I try to, yeah, go ahead.
Not all the time is bigger better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
I don't know. Not all the time.
All the time.
Not all
Not
the time.
all the time.
But yeah,
also, we want this to be a safe space that you
yes,
can
for
come in
sure.
here and you can speak your mind respectfully. Nobody's gonna make fun of anybody else. You guys know we don't allow that kind of crap. So, please feel free to come, share your stories, share, your thoughts, ask questions about things you've always been curious about, and we're too afraid to ask, other places. We want you to ask anything here, anything.
Yeah. 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 And it's funny because going along the lines, by the way, about our childhood, I would say that a lot of how I feel about myself is childhood conditioning. I can look back to the things that my mother did and said when I was a child that I still can't get over. I'm just conditioned this way. I've always sought my parents' approval. I've always sought to prove that I'm worthy. I've always sought that, and that's something that came from childhood. And I to this, as an adult, I'll read books on how to get over that shit. And I'm like, I've been programmed from a child.
Right.
So it's
hard.
Right.
Right. That's what I was saying. My point before. That's exactly it. I just think all of us, I'm not I'm not immune to it. All of us are. We all have that, conditioning. Somewhere along the line in our life, we were conditioned to believe a certain thing, or this is what happened, or that's what happened, and it's,
right.
So asking questions and. Maybe not exactly that we have the answer to everything, but talking about some of this stuff that, if you have some weird thing or something, when I say weird, meaning, not of like, normalcy of what people, would, kind of normally talk about. It might not be so weird. There's probably a lot of other people that have had a similar experience, but as Robin said, maybe they just didn't, weren't comfortable or didn't feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully that's what we do here. Hopefully we provide a safe space. This is the biggest thing I want to get, that regardless of what you believe, no matter how crazy you think your idea is, that you feel this is a safe space to share your opinion, your thought about things. And then when you state it, rather than feeling ashamed because somebody says that they don't see it the same way, you just accept that, hey, this is the way I see it and this is the way you see it. And there's no judgment there. So I hope this is a non-judgmental space that we all share our experiences in life and keep an open mind that your experience is not the same as everybody else. And can't we all just get along? A little bit different than the True Crime channel. And how weird is it, by the way, that we had Jeff H on here? By the way, Jeff H has been a weird thing for us on the True Crimes channel, but it was a good conversation tonight. I can't promise it's always going to be a good conversation, but it was a good conversation tonight. And so I appreciate that as well, because I really do. At the end of the day, I don't have enemies. I really don't. I don't have enemies. You can do really shitty things to me, and I'll still forgive you and move on if you show any modicum of trying to mend fences. That's the kind of guy I am. I want to mend fences. I want to be a peacemaker. I don't like to have enemies. So that's just the way I'm.
Yeah.
Built,
well, it's good to be like, life is very short sometimes. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, JJ. You got any last minute thoughts? I know you've been kind of quiet for a while.
No, I like talking about all kinds of stuff, and I think having, you know, my channel is more about us sort of connecting dots about certain types of things, but this is more eclectic and
Yeah.
where you can dive into like a lot of different topics that may not be connected. Maybe they are, but I really like a free form type of discussion because there are a lot of things that fall outside of the realm of quote unquote normal discussions or normal topics that people are interested in. I mean, that's just a reality.
Yeah.
Yes, there are certain types of people who are more sort of dichotomous thinkers where it's just things are more black and white and whatever, but I don't see the world as black and white. I see I mean, you have to use logic, but I think any subject can be addressed if you approach it with an open mind, of course, and also there's a lot more to reality than the things that are more quote unquote concrete. You know, I really do. And I think people largely have been conditioned to look away from that stuff. You know, like it's just the nature of the world that we live in. That there's a certain push, and maybe I'm conspiratorial. I think it's deliberate to get people to look at things as if, well, you have to only listen to what the quote unquote experts have to say.
Right.
But I think people have the ability to digest things in different ways. And I think that the quote unquote, the concept of beyond is a really good one because we need to be able to look at things and not necessarily think, well, this can only be this or that. You know, logic is great. I'm very logical, but sometimes things defy logic.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I like, I'll tell you the other thing I found is we talk so much true crime on the other side that it's nice to be able to have something to break up the monotony of the same thing every night. So this has been as much of a I would say this, I'm a deep person. I have a lot of things that I have on my mind that I don't get to talk about because all we talk about is true crime and the other things. So this is the ability for me to stretch a little bit and share with you some of those other deeper things that people don't get to see all the time. So I appreciate that. And JJ, you've got your first live tomorrow night. I hope to be able to make it. I am going to be going out of town and coming back just shortly before my live. So I hope that I can catch some of your live. If I don't, it's because I already had plans to go out of town tomorrow for part of the day and get back just before my live. But I hope that you do well on that live. And it looks like some of our mods are going to help you out on your channel. So hope that that goes
I
really
appreciate it. It's, you know, you guys kind of know how I think and the types of things that I discuss. And tomorrow, I can promise this, it'll be very free flowing, but I have a couple of dots that I want to connect and just have people think about them. It's just some things I'm going to raise some questions that people can think about and maybe go, oh, I never thought of it that way. You know, maybe I never saw it that way because I didn't have an awakening until, you know, I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
And
you said 9/11, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big one for me.
Right.
What came after 9/11, and then I kept having these epiphanies where things that were obscured to me in the past became crystal clear. And I think, you know, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
I think along that lines, I also would attribute a lot of my changes to 9/11. I think anybody of our age, 9/11 changed us fundamentally. How could it not? It was the most horrific thing that we've ever experienced. It shocked the senses. In that regards, I think it awakened a lot of us because it shocked our senses to experience that and go through it. And then everybody started to reevaluate a lot of things, I feel, myself included. So.
And one last thing I just wanted to say real quick, because this channel talks about things that require the ability to be open-minded, look at things differently. We're conditioned from a young age, right, to believe a certain way, to think a certain way, to believe certain things. But remember, the people teaching us are humans, and they're susceptible to being fooled, and they're susceptible to just towing the line and sticking to the script, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we're never meant to look at things that way. But, you know, if you dig into the whole Rockefellers and the education and the medical field and things like that, that were handed to us, and the more you read, the more you research things, the more you realize a lot of what we were taught as the absolute truth turned out to be horseshit.
Yep. Absolutely true. It's funny because I don't want to go on a side tangent, but I feel like I have to just as a quick example for that. When I was in school, I was taught that the founding fathers of America were our heroes. They were special, amazing people. When you're in high school, you find out that they actually had committed treason against their country and were doing all these things. When you're in college, you find out that they were horrible people that were terrible slave owners and did shitty things. The more education you get, the more you realize that you were brainwashed as a child to think to think of a certain way. And the more education you get, the more you realize that life is a shit sandwich and it wasn't the dream you were told when you were a child.
Yeah, and then you get even older and you learn they were all Freemasons.
Yeah.
Then there's that. Don't even get me started on the Masons.
I like to add a quick thing, a short thing. You know, kind of mentioned it before in a few lives, but Lee will know right away as soon as I mention it. You know, going on that theme there, what JJ was just talking about, other you know, that really has aspects in everything in what you're talking about, like the education and being brainwashed and whatever. And I could tell you, you know, just in my last 2.5 year journey that has nothing to do really with paranormal or history. Well, has to do with history of in a sense of medicine. Just doing, you know, getting the education and doing a little research of my own. I know I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but goes along with what they're talking about of, again, being brainwashed and everyone telling you like, oh, you shouldn't eat eggs every day, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And a lot of what I've been told and taught for years and years and years, even when I was a little kid, it's I you know, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but I can tell you a lot of what I was told is incorrect.
Right. Then you find out that the things that you're told because they were told by people who had financial interest to promote grain or promote beef or whatever. And their financial interest is what they were teaching you. Yeah, absolutely. I agree a lot of, you know, and that's hopefully what we'll all explore all these things. Anyways, thank you guys for coming. It was a great night. If you haven't done so, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Check out JJ State of the Deep tomorrow. Check us all out. This same panel will mostly be together again tomorrow night on the Crimes After Dark on the True Crime Show, which is not going to talk about all these crazy conspiracy theories and alternate states of reality and all that shit, but we will talk about a lot of stuff. And Sunday morning, I have a second part of the Book of Enoch series. Check that out. I'm going to be doing another part of the Book of Enoch series every Sunday morning is my plan. So if you like that series, I think I have a lot to share on it. I spent my entire life pretty much studying that book and things related to it, the Bible and Near Eastern religion, and I got a lot of thoughts. And I hopefully will approach it not too dogmatically, so it hopefully doesn't completely terrify your senses of religion. Thanks for stopping by, as people said here, Amanda's with that, and have a great night, everybody. Take it easy.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, guys.